Välkomna hit, säger jag till er. And dear Sanna, most welcome to Stockholm. Good to see you here. I'm very happy to host Prime Minister Marin in Stockholm today for very obvious reasons. It's the first bilateral incoming visit during the Swedish EU presidency. It's our third meeting outside the European Council, and it marks the very special relationship between Sweden and Finland. During today's meeting, we have discussed European security and our commitment to Ukraine. We have, of course, discussed the NATO accession process and the upcoming European Council next week. One of the three key words for the Swedish EU presidency is to help make Europe safer. First of all, to maintain the united support for Ukraine in military as well as in political, economic and humanitarian terms. Our two countries share this very strong commitment to Ukraine's defense and freedom, because the fate of Ukraine is also the fate of Europe. Finland's and Sweden's NATO accession was of course also on top of today's agenda. We embarked on this journey together, and we do the journey towards membership together. We have a very strong defense cooperation, and both countries will be security providers to NATO as allies. I appreciate the very clear messages from Finland, from you and from President Sauli Niinistö, that we are on this journey together. We have worked together on implementing the trilateral memorandum with Turkey. We have delivered concrete results on all parts of the memorandum, and we will continue to implement it right now. In Sweden's case, on this morning's cabinet meeting, we formalized, as I think you know, the government's proposal to the Council on legislation on fighting terrorism. And earlier today, the Minister for Justice, Gunnar Strömmer, presented the proposal at a press conference. The bill will be sent to Parliament in March, and the new anti-terrorism laws will be effective as of the 1st of June. This is a cornerstone in Sweden's long-term commitment to counter-terrorism, regardless if it aims to hurt Sweden or if it aims to hurt other countries. At the same time, events and activities in Sweden during the past weeks have complicated the close and respectful dialogue with Turkey. Individual manifestations carried out by small groups or even of individuals have consequences for how Sweden is perceived abroad. It also has consequences for Swedish business communities and for our number one priority for national security, Finland's and Sweden's NATO accession. We understand and we share the frustration these actions lead to, and my message to all fellow Swedes is very simple. Let's calm down the situation and focus on the big picture and what is really important, increasing Swedish national security by becoming full-fledged members of NATO. In the meantime, Sweden will continue to implement our trilateral memorandum together with Finland. At our meeting today, we also covered the agenda for the upcoming European Council next week. The Commission yesterday presented its message on a Green Deal industrial plan for the net zero age, which is being analysed as we speak. This input will of course be a part of the discussion in the Council next week. Another important priority for the Swedish presidency is to strengthen European long-term competitiveness and productivity. That is to make Europe greener and make Europe freer. This will also be an important part of the agenda for the March meeting for a more competitive single market and for more international trade. The agenda for next week's Council will also include migration, and there are good reasons for that. We need to bring the work forward on the external aspects of migration, given the severe challenges that that many member states are facing right now. A number of countries, including the Netherlands, Austria and Belgium, are experiencing irregular migration at the same level now as in 2015, or even higher. In the case of Austria, their reception of migrants has tripled in a year and is now among the highest levels the country has ever experienced. And on the Western Balkan route, we have seen an increase in irregular border crossings with 150%. This is not sustainable and will be one of the big topics at next week's meeting. Finland and Sweden, finally, also share a common interest in forestry and the importance of forest industries, for example, in the field of bioenergy. All these were topics for the Prime Ministers and my talks today, and I now leave the floor to you, Sanna, please.
Dear representatives of the media, dear Ulf, I want to thank you for your invitation for me to visit Stockholm today and for the very important and timely discussions that we had. We had a lot on our agenda today. It was very important to discuss the way forward on supporting Ukraine, our common path to join NATO, and the state of EU economy and competitiveness. Russia will not win its brutal war against Ukraine. We stand firm behind Ukraine as long as it takes. We have now stepped up our support. Much more is needed, also heavy weapons. Ukrainians can count on our support. We will help Ukraine on its path to become a member of the European Union also. Russia's war has permanently changed the European security order. Last spring, we started our common path to join NATO. This journey must be made hand in hand and in a common accord, just like we started it. On every step, it is in our interest to move this way. The security of Finland and Sweden is bound together. It is the interest of the whole alliance that we will join together. We have addressed the concerns raised by Turkey as agreed in Madrid. Today we need determination and unity more than ever. We trust that all member states of NATO are able to ratify our application soon and that by the summit in Vilnius, Finland and Sweden will be allies. We are also committed to working closely together on EU matters. Sweden's EU presidency comes at a crucial time. We discussed the preparation of the European Council next week. Europe continues to feel the effects of the war in Ukraine, though through high energy prices and high inflation. But Europe is now speeding up on its green transition, and we must continue in all fronts. Others around the globe are doing the same. It is good that countries like the US are heavily investing in green transition as well. However, this situation has also created concerns about the EU's global competitiveness. Our response should be balanced. We must avoid unnecessary trade tensions, especially in the current geopolitical situation. The United States is and remains Europe's closest partner. I want to thank you for today's discussion and for the visit here. And now I think we are ready to answer all of your questions.
We are.
We'll open up for questions. The first one here, TT.
Thank you, Niklas Svahn, Swedish news agency TT. I would like to ask Sanna Marin, according to an opinion poll published today in Ilta Sanomat newspaper, 53% of the Finns do not think that Finland should wait for Sweden if Swedish NATO application takes longer due to Turkish opposition. If this support increases in Finland, how will you react to that? And on the same subject, if Turkey opposes Sweden when the Turkish parliament reopens in October after the summer recess, will Finland consider entering NATO without Sweden?
I think it's very important that we send today a clear message. Finland and Sweden apply together, and it's in everybody's interest that we will join together in NATO. we are working together. We are in very close contact, daily basis on the matter. And both countries are filling all the boxes when it comes to NATO membership. So of course we want Turkey and also Hungary to ratify both of our applications as soon as possible. We are in it together, and of course we are keeping very close contact also on the matter.
Yeah, next question, SVT in green.
Yes, my name is Julia Lindvall. I'm from the Swedish television. First, a question to Prime Minister Sanna Marin. Burning the Koran is not allowed in Finland. Why is that? And then I would also like to know, how big do you think this question about waiting for Sweden will be during your election this spring? And then one question for Ulf Kristersson, if that's okay, in Swedish. Hur ser beredskapen ut i Sverige om vi skulle lämnas bakom och Finland skulle bestämma sig för att gå före?
Well, if I will answer, it's in our legislation, in our constitution, to have that kind of respect for religious matters. I don't think it's allowed to burn Quran, but not also Bible, because we want to protect that people can believe what they want and that they have the privacy and the support to do that. And I think there's also some legislation concerning to making open fire in Finland in public places. So there is also these kind of very concrete matters why it's not allowed to put anything on fire in public places. Not only Quran, but you cannot like burn your chair or anything in public places. Don't do it in Finland.
Nej, jag tänker ju inte spekulera förstås i olika scenarier, absolut inte. Utan vi, som Sanna Marin sa, vi gick in där tillsammans. Vi har inga andra ambitioner att gå igenom det här tillsammans och slutföra det tillsammans. Det är vi helt inställda på. Så att jag tar fasta på att Finland är väldigt tydliga i sina kommentarer. Att det är så de också ser på saken. Att det är så de vill fullfölja detta. Och att vi båda hoppas att vi till Vilniusmötet, det stora NATO-mötet, ungefär vid den tiden, båda kommer kunna vara medlemmar i NATO. Så det är där jag finns. Sen förstår jag, och det har jag sagt många gånger, jag förstår den finska frustrationen med detta. Jag förstår den fullt ut. Så jag tycker inte det är konstigt att man ventilerar den sortens diskussion. Det hade vi gjort i Sverige också, tror jag, om situationen hade varit den omvända. Så jag förstår frustrationen, men jag uppskattar att Finland vill gå hand i hand med Sverige.
Då tar vi TV4.
I have a question regarding the process going forward. It seems like the Swedish NATO application is stuck in a dead end at the moment. And I'm wondering, what is the strategy to change this? I'm not very imaginative, but I can sort of really construct a way out of this. What are you doing? Are you talking to the other NATO allies to make them pressure Turkey, or what's the playbook?
Well, I think it's very important to stay calm. As I said, we fill all the boxes to become NATO allies, to become members of NATO. We have agreed a joint declaration in Madrid, and now both countries are following that. I think it's very important that you are now presenting this new legislation on terrorism and following what has agreed in Madrid. And then it's up to the two countries, Turkey and Hungary, to ratify. And we are expecting and waiting them to ratify our applications as soon as possible. Of course, we are discussing with many NATO member states on the matter, and it's also there's also a question of NATO's credibility when it comes to open door policy. So I think there are many interests on finishing this situation as soon as possible to finalizing our memberships in NATO.
I very much agree on that. First, stay calm. Stay calm. Don't heat the situation up. Come back to serious discussions. Sit down and continue the talks we have had, because they have been fruitful. And then continue implementing the trilateral memorandum and do exactly what we did this morning. An important step was taken this morning in having a new legislation in place.
But how can you define this as fruitful?
I said all the talks we've had since Madrid have been fruitful, I would say. Also confirmed by Turkey. very much so. And then, of course, the last week's events have not been fruitful. That's obvious to state. And that's why I think we need to get back to a more reasonable way of discussion with each other. And that's not possible while things are burning, literally.
Yes, we'll do next question here in red.
Antonia Berg, MTV News från Finland. Jag frågar Ulf Kristersson på svenska. Hur sannolikt ser du att det kommer att upprepas sådana här provokativa handlingar här i Sverige och vad kan det leda till? And Sanna, Marin, how long will we be able to wait for Sweden if there will be more actions like this and it will last some years, for example? Could Finland wait that long? Thank you.
Jag är statsminister, jag sysslar inte med sannolikhetslära utan jag vet vad jag vill åstadkomma och jag kommer att arbeta hårt för det. Sen inser jag att människor som verkligen vill försöka sabotera den svenska och den finska NATO-ansökan kan göra det på olika sätt som är lagliga. Jag förstår att det är möjligt. Jag beklagar att det är på det sättet, att man vill göra på det sättet och jag tycker att det är riskabelt och man riskerar att spela krafter i händerna som inte vill Sverige väl. Jag vill bara understryka detta. Allt som är lagligt är inte respektfullt och jag tycker man ska ha Sveriges nationella säkerhetsintressen i fokus just nu. Det är min uppfattning.
Be the last question.
If I will
Please.
answer to the question, I don't like this atmosphere or position where Sweden is presented as a sort of troubled child in the classroom. I don't think this is the case. Sweden also ticks all the boxes what is needed to become a member of NATO. And now we are waiting for 2 countries to ratify. It's in NATO's interest that both countries, Finland and Sweden, will enter NATO together because we are sharing the same security atmosphere up here in the north. It will be in everybody's interests. NATO's interest, our interest, that we would be accepted simultaneously. So there's also real reasons why it's so important that we applied and that we are joining NATO together. And I don't like this kind of atmosphere where Sweden is presented as a troublemaker. Sweden isn't a troublemaker. Sweden is a very close neighbor of ours and we respect each other very much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sanna. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.